Hello and welcome. My name is Patrick Clore, and I'm the head of customer marketing here at GiveSmart by Community Brands. And we are thrilled to have each and every one of you here joining us this conversation today. Today is episode 21 in our Outside the Room Fundraising Success Series, where we bring the successes of your peers in the fundraising world front and center. The hope in doing so is to continue to encourage and inspire each other by innovating, expanding our toolkits, by placing a look at those who have done it so well. And during today's episode, we are thrilled to be showcasing DIFFA Chicago. And joining us is two individuals who both fundraise for DIFFA in addition to their full-time vocations, Richard Cassis and Sergio Gomez. Richard and Sergio, thanks so much to both of you for joining us here today.
Hey, thanks for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity. So thanks to you and GiveSmart.
Super excited to be here as well. Really happy and really excited to what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. And we are also pleased to be joined by our very own content manager, Kathy Knopf-Nagel, who brings with her years of experience in the nonprofit space as well. Kathy, thanks for joining and giving us your time today as well.
Thank you, Patrick. Excited to be here.
This is going to be a fun one. And to kind of get stuff off and shake the cobwebs a little bit is we wanted to put up a poll that we've been doing over the past couple of weeks to really get a trend line and engage how people are feeling. So as it pertains to your organization, your 2021 fundraising, are you sticking with what you've always done, expanding, and we've identified what we're going to be doing, looking for new opportunities, or head spinning, no clue what we're going to do? And while folks are weighing in on the poll here, Richard, at a high level, can you share a little bit with us about the mission of DIFFA Chicago and your affiliation with the organization?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, thanks. So when I'm not doing branding and design work for my own firm, I am an executive committee board member and a regular board member, and have co-chaired many different events through the years since, probably the year 2000. I was a co-chair and producer for Art for Life Chicago 2020. And which is sponsored by DIFFA Chicago. And our history is that we were founded in 1984 along with DIFFA, which is the national organization that we are a chapter of. DIFFA National has granted over $44 million to national organizations to end HIV/AIDS, and DIFFA Chicago has contributed millions of those. Our goal at DIFFA Chicago is to grant $200,000 each year to Chicagoland organizations. And our mission statement is DIFFA Chicago champions the fight to end HIV/AIDS through awareness, prevention, and the pursuit of a cure. And here we are fundraising for that exact mission.
That is awesome. And yeah, I think very, very cool stuff you guys are doing. And with that, we will bring up the poll here and see how folks weighed in. So Kathy, I know you've been examining this as we compiled over the past couple of weeks. So how does today's results kind of compare to what we've been seeing of late?
That is pretty on par with what we've been seeing. And obviously, it's probably why so many of you joined us today, looking for new ideas. I think if you were probably all set and ready to go, if that number was huge, then that would be kind of goofy. But you know, we're excited to share new ideas, and hopefully all of our listeners today will be able to take something that they can use for their own missions.
Absolutely. I think with that, we will kind of, in terms of today, we have a comprehensive agenda, but it really all centers around DIFFA Chicago's Art for Life Chicago virtual auction and gala that they ran at the end of October of 2020. And we'll be taking a deep dive into the campaign from a few different angles that, regardless of you and your organization's size and shape and structure, be able to draw some inspiration from what Richard, Sergio, and their team did, because I think they did a lot of things very creatively and applied some great innovation to it. And at the end of the call, all panelists have graciously agreed to stay on for Q&A at the end. But if we are talking about a particular topic and there's questions directly relevant, we'll infuse those in as we go. So please continue to send questions throughout the call in the chat option. There's no limits to how many you can send, so keep them coming early and often. And I'll preemptively answer the main question we get each week, which is we will be sending out a full recording of today's call, as well as any materials that we might cover. So if you do have to jump off or something goes wrong with the connection, don't fear, as we'll make sure to get that to you covered later today. And before we really get rolling in earnest, today is actually the final episode of this particular installment of our Outside the Room series, and we'll have something exciting launching in April. And to mark the occasion, even though we're one day late, we still wanted to offer our own version of a four-leaf clover, which is a special promo offer for all of today's listeners. We will be offering 1 month free with a new agreement for GiveSmart. So if you click the link that our team is putting in the chat, a team member will reach out and help get things started for you. It's our own small way of saying thank you, and whether you're Irish or not, we still wish you all the luck in the world. So with that, Kathy, can you kick us off and start telling us a little bit more about Art for Life Chicago here?
Absolutely. And, I'll probably let Sergio and Richard do the talking, because that's kind of what we're getting into, and it's their expertise. But I guess, so Richard, could you kick us off and start telling us a little bit about what was involved in your virtual event this year? And obviously, as a fundraiser myself, I see that year-over-year growth, and it is envious. So I know we're excited to hear more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathy. Appreciate it. So, as many of us were faced with the fundraising opportunities last year and the hurdles that came along with those opportunities, we all at DIFFA Chicago took up this mantle of saying, we're not going to just do our best and try to figure out how we do this, or maybe just let it go for another year. We decided that we waited for quite a while to find out how we were going to do this, but no matter what, we had always decided that we were moving forward with this event. This was the 4th year that we were having this actual event, Art for Life Chicago. And the first 3 years were obviously for non-pandemic reasons, live and in a gallery and in a really beautiful setting with cocktails and all the accoutrements. And I think that the virtual part sort of helped us in that case. Obviously, you can see the total that came in, and it's because, I believe it was because we were able to focus on what was really important, which was the fundraising aspect and the giving to a great cause. And through the social media campaign that we launched way back early in April, before the event in October, we realized that if we covered all the ground, which is talking about fundraising and the awareness of DIFFA Chicago and its mission and what it does, focusing on the artists that were just about ready to give us beautiful artwork, basically their lives, so that we can save other people's lives and help other people, we realized that we really didn't need a live gallery setting to have an art auction. And so given that, we put in a lot of different, we put in a lot of effort to produce a lot of different ways to bring people in and to fundraise, to do exactly that, our one main goal, through what we thought was a very beautiful event, because it involved art. And so the money that was raised came in many different ways. The $139,000 can be broken down, and I think we can talk about that as we move forward later on. But we made that commitment, and by mid-year we decided to go virtual, and here we are later, sort of enjoying what we'd learned and hoping we can share that with you all.
No, I appreciate that, and I really liked what you said about how maybe when you're not talking as much about hors d'oeuvres and flowers, that you can kind of hyper focus on the mission and bringing that forward. And I'm sure as you move on and we do get to enjoy hors d'oeuvres and flowers together again, that the mission lessons you guys learned, or the mission focus you guys were able to kind of do this past year will stay with you. So I think that that's really, really great. And I know, Sergio, as we move on to the next slide, I believe, Sergio, you have shared with us that a big part of the success was kind of the promotion that you guys did surrounding it. So I know these images come a little bit from your website, a little bit from your Instagram, which we are sharing both of those in the chat, I believe. So could you just tell us a little bit more about what we're seeing and kind of why you feel it led to your success?
Yes. Hi, Kathy. Hi, everybody. Totally. I think, from the beginning, as we started talking about Art for Life Chicago 2020, and as I started working also with Richard and the whole team, we talked about from the beginning also to doing a whole rebranding on how we put ourselves out to the public. And that included like that yellow that you will see throughout many of the slides as kind of an accent, and very strategically to make people wonder, like, what is that, right? And every time they saw that circle, and then we use the emoji that's just the circle. So to keep that brand accent all throughout the whole year, throughout the campaign, from when we started even talking about what was coming. That was, I think, one of the key factors that also helped in the success. Making the website to make sure that it was super easy to use. At the moment you landed, which is what you see on the upper left-hand side, like view the gallery, right? Immediately you can view the 3D gallery, which we'll talk about that later as well. But experience the auction. I mean, super narrow, super easy to find, and then carrying that through everywhere. In our social media, which we'll talk a bit more too. But we did a lot of sharing of artists' artwork, or the things that we were doing. Also talking about the cause, what we stand for, giving also statistics about why this AIDS, pandemic is still, something that we need to give attention to, what we can do, what has been done, and also highlighting some of the other organizations that have been benefited because of what we are doing. So I think it all kind of worked together really nicely as a brand for Art for Life Chicago, to give the message of what we were all about and what was coming, which nobody expected a pandemic to be happening in 2020. So just staying through that helped us a lot as well.
Yeah, and what Sergio didn't mention, and he's very modest about this, is that we approached Sergio, since he is a curator, a judge for many art shows, an artist himself, and an entrepreneur in the art business and promoting artists themselves. We knew that he could be a great spokesperson for us, not just on the fundraising side, but also in connecting with artists, and many different artists that we didn't know. And so he sort of broadened our horizons, if you will, increased our viewership, increased our followers, created a whole new group of people that we can connect with and show who DIFFA Chicago is, and what Art for Life Chicago is, and where that's going, and how that's going to help with our mission. And so I think that was practically priceless, along with the sort of strong, cohesive branding that we just never gave up on. It's just that sort of, as Sergio said, the yellow dot, kind of pervasive, following through. And these days, with so much going on in social media, you really do need that quick hook, and color is a great way to do it. Art's another great way to do really great art, and so on and so forth. That was a big strength for us.
Absolutely. I know I do not excel in the design or art department, so to see these sorts of visuals, it is very appealing and it is memorable, which I think most listeners here today strive for that. So that's really, really important. And I know as we go on to the next slide, it was mentioned that there's that kind of that 3D gallery. So that is what we are looking at right now, kind of on the left-hand side. So I know our team felt, out of pretty much all of the organizations that we work with, this actual like auction walkthrough experience was, and I do not use the word lightly, unique, and truly, truly unique. And so what we're seeing again on the left is kind of the gallery walkthrough experience. And then I think we're sharing that in the chat as well. And then when you would walk through and you would choose a specific piece of artwork, it would take you to that top right view. And then you had the option to choose to bid, which would then take you to your GiveSmart page. So I know obviously we just talked about visuals and design and experience. And Sergio, I think if you could just shed a little bit of light on why you chose this platform, why did you see it kind of really adding to your overall experience?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. One of the very important things from the beginning, when we realized, well, we're not going to have an actual live event, is like, how do we transfer that experience of walking into a gallery and seeing the art in person? Seeing how big it is or how small it is, it's a huge impression that you have. So how do we transfer that in a world in which everybody's going to be looking at it, probably with their phones, some of them with their computers, and how do we make it fun and exciting for them, and also for the artist perspective too, of they're giving us a really beautiful piece of art, and we want to show it and display it in the best way we can, and in a way that they would be excited to share with others. So when we did this, because of my experience with working with galleries and curating, I had already curated other virtual reality exhibitions, which is pretty much what it is, a virtual reality exhibition, almost like if you're playing a video game, you have the controls to walk through the environment, and that's exactly what it is. So we transfer that, we use a platform called Consmatrix, which is a company based in Europe, and they already have built various gallery rooms. So we use that, and that has how we built the entire, 3-dimensional platform where you could come in. And another very cool part of that is that people could access the exhibition even before we had the live event. So, that was really important. So people could start, looking at it. Artists started to take screenshots of the, of their piece on the virtual wall. And so that all started to the whole ecosystem of people sharing and spreading the word, because it was something exciting, right? It was not just their artwork on a typical, white page that you scroll up and down, but that you could actually have fun with it, could interact with it, could get close to the art, pull away, walk through the gallery, get lost a little bit and find your way around. I think that was something that was super important for us, and we put a lot of effort into it, make sure that every artwork looked great. We went to great extents to make sure that, the exhibition was really nice, and I think that paid off at the end. What do you say, Richard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, as I mentioned before, these days you can't just do one thing or another in order to appeal to people's sensibilities. As Sergio mentioned, people are sort of linking on via their phone. It might be a tablet, it might be a computer. But in any case, there are different strokes for different folks. I mean, some people love this gallery, and that's how they were sort of motivated to bid. Other people didn't need it or didn't want it. All they knew is that they were in love with certain pieces of art, and that's where they were going. They had seen it on social media. So there was a little bit of something for everybody. And with all that sort of breadth of our campaign, we still tried to keep the look and the feel and the sensibility and the voice of Art for Life Chicago very tight. Just always expected. You know what we're going to say. You can almost hear it when you see an image. And it was great for sponsorship too. I know we'll talk about that later, but it was just a fantastic tool to have this gallery that linked to GiveSmart.
Yeah, no, and I think, not everyone who's listening today obviously has a premier art auction like this, but I do know, whether you're walking through a gallery, like obviously made the most sense for you, and it is very visually appealing. It also, our listeners, could you do a walkthrough just with your phone and your video of premier auction items that you're, showcasing to kind of prep people for the event? Because I think Richard or Sergio, either one of you had mentioned that it did open early so people could walk through and, get lost in the gallery. I think Sergio, you said that, which I think is really great. But, giving people the opportunity to have multiple exposures via social media, via this walkthrough, I think those are all lessons that most of our listeners can take from this, and that you both would say that it led to your success, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a couple people that had actually done, and again, this is part of sponsorship, had done video spots, or we had worked on it with them. And in one case, a great DIFFA Chicago ambassador, Alpana Singh, who was the host of Check Please on TV and owns a number of restaurants, was kind enough to give us just a little bit of her thoughts on what we're doing. And she's always been a part of our lives at DIFFA Chicago. And we said, Alpana, just give us 30 seconds of something on your phone. Record it on your phone. We don't need any more than that. And so we did a lot of different things. We did professional recording, we did the live show, and we did something on somebody's phone and they just sent it in. I think all of that sort of contributed to the fabric of how we structured this, entire fundraiser. And it was just a nice way to sort of get the word out.
Absolutely. No, I think that there's a lot to take out for all of our listeners today about everything that you just shared, that, there's just a lot of opportunity now to engage people on multiple levels to bring success to your mission. So I know, and also before we move on, and then we'll move on, but you guys still have people who walk through the gallery, don't you?
Yes, it is still open, and anyone can go check it out, which is the wonderful thing about it, right? When you have a one-time, one-night event, the event is over, and all you have is the pictures that we're sharing on social media, but the exhibition is still on, and that's the beautiful part about that. Even a year later, people can still walk through the show and see it.
No, that's really great and memorable. Patrick, you had a question, right?
I did, yeah. We've had a bunch, I think not surprisingly, a bunch of questions come in kind of as we talk about this. And I know there's one or two that were about the exact platform that Richard and Sergio and their team used. And then we're gonna, we'll put that name in the chat just as well as the link directly to the gallery. That way, if you want to see it or, learn a little bit more, you'll be able to do. And then the other is, I know for a lot of folks, if I'm not doing a particular art auction, if we step a minute and look at it holistically, a way to get people engaged. And we're going to talk, later on in the conversation about sponsorship and about the actual kind of live stream, live element to the event. But Richard, I'm curious, from the perspective of donors and being able to simulate as close as possible the look and the feel of touching something or seeing it with your own eyes, what feedback you guys got from donors in particular on that this was able to make it more engaging, because I think we see people include videos or different things, and each organization is going to be unique. But I'm curious what feedback you guys got from donors about, what did this give them more information and in turn kind of help them, maybe increase their bids as if it would have just been maybe a picture on the website?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Patrick, and a great follow-up to what we've been talking about. And I think that the way I'd answer that and characterize it is, again, here we were in early or just after the first quarter of 2020, wondering, all right, now how do you fundraise with all of this going on? So we actually had canceled our annual gala that's around the Neocon show at the Merchandise Mart for interiors and contract furnishings. And that was a real blow to us. But there were a number of sponsors that were looking forward to that, but also had signed on for a year-long sponsorship to be involved in Art for Life Chicago as well. And they didn't know that either that the gala was going to be canceled and that we were going to end up going virtual with Art for Life Chicago. But they were pleased because, again, of what we had sort of done it in that way that we pivoted and started to give them not just, I don't want to say brand impressions because that's what we all do that, right? We have to do that, but just opportunities to speak to their audiences through things that we were presenting and how we were creating awareness and how we were representing them as not just sponsors, but our ambassadors as well and our spokespeople, to the extent that for the top tier donors, we actually asked them to come on with Sergio in certain cases and record a short video about who they are and how they're involved and what they're looking forward to in the show. And so with that involvement, they felt actually, compared to years before, way more involved. So instead of waiting for that one night that was coming up where we were going to spend what a lot of times we got was too much time on a program during a cocktail and sit down dinner event, they were actually more engaged in this case because it is social media and there is that multiplying of brand impressions and awareness throughout the world. I mean, we had artists from all over the world. We had viewers and followers from all over the world. And I think they saw that and they realized this wasn't just a Chicago sit-down dinner or a gallery setting cocktail party. This was the world open to them. And sort of, we did a printed catalog. We did, thanks to Tito's Handmade Vodka, did a nice, beautiful drink kit like everybody was doing last year. And we sort of curated those things together and we're offering those as incentives, but in a way that paired with what Art for Life Chicago stood for. So it was never a forced freebie or a giveaway. It was always linked to the way we were approaching this fundraising effort. So everybody responded very well and they were happy. And I gotta say, the sponsors that, the actual spokespeople from the sponsors that did the videos, we saw it. They bid on artwork and they bought a lot of artwork and it was great. And we love that.
Nothing like having your sponsors get involved in donating too. And it's That's really, really great. And speaking of the art, this all obviously came from really generous artists who donated, their time and effort and their talent. And we know all of you listening out there don't do a full art auction, but as you secure items, our team really felt that the way that DIFFA Chicago made their item procurement and their donor experience exciting and is going to really benefit everybody who's listening. So Sergio, do you want to walk us through kind of the experience that the artists had?
Yes, of course, I'll be happy to. That's kind of my favorite part, right? As a curator and galleries and artist myself too, working with the artists that we selected, it was really important. So the whole process started, when we realized it was going to be virtual, that it had limitations, but at the same time, we wanted to look for the opportunities. And the opportunities like, wait, why does it have to be only Chicago artists, right? Now, if it's a virtual gallery, technically anyone around the world can participate. So we opened it up to artists worldwide. We did a call for artists, and from those, we were going to select, the premier pieces that we wanted in the show. So not everybody was going to get in. So from that perspective, there was a sense of competition from the start. We created a package that will be very appealing to artists, because their art was not going to be in an actual gallery. So we had to come up with great ideas. First of all, the virtual reality exhibition. The catalog was a huge one where we told every artist, well, your artwork will be in the catalog, one full page, beautifully represented, full color. Those catalogs will land in the hands of collectors, curators, gallerists, and so on. And you will have also a copy for yourself, for your own record. So that was a big piece of that, big token of appreciation for the artists that very, very kindly donated artwork for the show. And we really wanted to put up the level so that the artists would not be looking for artwork that's left over in your studio, right? I'm an artist myself, and I know organizations ask for my art all the time. So how do I give my best piece or one of my best works, right? Well, it has to be something that's really attractive, that's going to benefit everybody, as you mentioned earlier. And so having all these perks and all these ways in which we're going to also promote every artist in social media. Each one had a post that dedicated to them with their information. We tag them in our stories. We tag them in everywhere. We interview some of them. We created this show in social media that was called Art for Life Chicago TV, where I would wear my yellow glasses, which I actually had a pair of glasses, which you'll see later in some of the other slides, where I painted them color white. I mean, yellow, exactly the same yellow as the yellow in the dot for branding. So I would go and interview some artists through Zoom, because it was in the middle of the pandemic, and tell their stories, interview some of the previous collectors from Art for Life Chicago, what it was like, to get a piece from Art for Life Chicago. So all that, I think, added to the artists being wanted to be part of it. And we had participation from artists in, all across the United States, Latin America, North America, Europe, and so on. And another key component is, like we told the artists, wait, don't ship the artwork to us, right? Because you may be in another part of the world. After this is over and we have match you with a collector who has been in your work, we will put you in contact with the buyer, which for the artist is a big deal, because most of the time when you donate a work of art, you have no idea who ended up with your piece. So the ability for them to actually be in touch with their collector after the event was really huge. For those artists who were local, as you can see in some of the pictures here, they actually got to meet the collector and take a picture with the collector and with their art. And again, so that brings a relationship that we are the connectors of that relationship for years to come for the collector and for the artist. And I think that whole package, as I like to say it, is what make all the artists so excited to participate, to give us really fabulous pieces, and to share after, even this whole thing was over, to continue to talk about Art for Life Chicago.
Yeah, I know, and I think I know you guys have mentioned, and we're gonna scoot on after I ask a question, but I know you had mentioned in previous conversations, and you kind of touched on it here, is that it wasn't just about the exposure for the artists, right? That you created a community, you created a relationship between the collector and the artist, that you really treated them more like a partner, as opposed to a one-time donor who's grabbing something from the back of their closet. And I think that's why you got, the better you treat people in that way, or the more you make them feel appreciated and a part of the story, the more likely they are to put their best foot forward. I think that's just kind of a general life lesson, right? So before we move on, and Sergio, you touched on it, I just want to make sure we had a few questions in the question box about how buyers got their artwork. So they were connected directly with the artist to kind of sort that out, or did you guys facilitate anything?
So yeah, so I didn't mention this, but also because as we talk about later on the live part of it, we selected some specific pieces that we had in the gallery itself when we did the live section of the event. But for everybody else, we told everyone, hold on to your piece, and after it's over, then you will work out the shipping arrangements between you and the buyer. And it worked beautifully. I mean, I talked to artists from other parts of the world. I talked to an artist from Mexico who is a good friend of mine. He's donated a huge piece. And, he said it was really fabulous to talk to the collector who was in LA, and kind of working all the logistics, that was also exciting, for them too, because somebody wants your piece in a different country. And that itself, added, it wasn't really an obstacle, but actually was something that they look forward of doing.
That's really great. And Sergio, I did not compliment you on the fact that you took the dedication to paint your glasses the same yellow of your design. That is a miss on my part. I think that's extraordinary. And I think it speaks, again, somebody who's going to jump in with both feet forward in that sort of way, is going to have success. So I know you guys had definitely a unique kind of ticketing structure. And again, I don't use the word unique very often, but here I am using it twice. Could you walk us through kind of these three options, why you offered these three options, and any sort of like incentives you used so that people would be inspired to kind of register for a ticket and maybe even donate?
Yeah, I can answer that. This is Richard. But before I answer that, I'd love to go to the image there. There is Sergio with a beautiful piece that he created that was part of his pandemic series. And he was generous enough to put that up. And as you can see, if you can read that fine print, that if you donated, if you were registered by a certain time, early registration, you'd be entered to win that exact piece, which is a actual original piece of art, not a print. But I love the glasses too, and the tie. And even has a little band on his wrist. But I think this year we might up the ante. I know we're supposed to talk about this year later, but I'd love to see his hair get dyed yellow. But anyway, not to go too far astray. So we realized as a virtual event that we really couldn't charge. We weren't offering an open bar or even a cash bar. We weren't offering seating right up close so you can see all the artwork. While we had the virtual 3D gallery, we really couldn't charge. We felt like we didn't want to charge for the virtual admission. And we wanted more people to be involved. So we have a $0 ticket price for just virtual admission. We also offered and encouraged a donation to go along with that. And we received quite a bit of money through that donation, as well as the $25, but then also the $50 donation that brought you a catalog that was mailed to you. And in fact, we were mailing out catalogs like crazy. We got a lot of people that were involved with wanting to have a catalog, and a lot of people that wanted to just donate the $25 before the event actually happened. Before, whether or not they were going to bid on an auction item, they're very happy to donate. And I guess the mantra there is you just have to ask and make it an opportunity, not make it a must. So we ended up raising, out of all that money that you saw at the beginning, just on these suggestions of the $25 and $50, $10,000 in donations that came from this suggestion.
That is awesome, and I know the yellow is awesome. I wish I had these glasses, but I think especially as the first part of the conversation, for you guys it was artists in terms of solicitations. I think for some people listening, if that part you had to stretch, I think this part I know we get a lot of questions about, especially in a virtual setting where audience is a little harder because there's a lot of competition. So I'm curious, in particular with the $0 ticket. and hey, getting people in the system and using the raffle as a way of really just kind of a hook, for lack of a better phrase, getting in. I'm curious, I know you guys mentioned this was the fourth year of doing this particular event. Have you guys done anything like that in the 3 previous years, or was this something that you guys tried for the first time this particular go around?
Oh, so Patrick, when you talk about first time or done it before, are you talking about the raffle itself or this whole shooting match?
Oh, sorry. Yep. For the in particular, kind of the raffle in
Okay.
this kind of ticketing process to get people kind of engaged in.
Yeah, I think, in the past, in some of the galas and an event that we had previously before Art for Life Chicago, we had Dining by Design, which was a really wonderful event that ran about 25 years with a lot of great fanfare, but sort of ran its course. We had offered special incentives like gifts and red ribbons that were, AIDS ribbons that were made by artists and things like that. So there were sort of spotted opportunities here and there throughout the years, but we never really focused it on the subject matter like this, where Sergio was giving one of his pieces of artwork before the auction even started, and that we were also going to be giving a catalog. Typically, that's something you'd see the night of, or that you take home with you and never look at it again. And so we offered these things up in advance because it was unique to art and Art for Life. And it worked out really well. So we hadn't really done anything like this in this kind of combination before.
Awesome. No, that is much appreciated. Speaking of raffles a little bit, you guys did back that. So Kathy, I'll toss it back to you here to kind of break this down.
Perfect, thank you. So, we're gonna touch on your raffle. I think you did a nice job kind of saying maybe perhaps why it was important that you include this, but you definitely made it a one-stop shop purchase, which all of you who use GiveSmart who are listening, tickets that are sold on an order form page, you could also, then they enter their info and then they pay. But what was really great about DIFFA Chicago is they added their raffle items as instant buy as well. So before you scroll down to pay, you had to go through all of those items so that you saw what you would be eligible for if you had purchased a raffle ticket. And I believe we're going to be sharing a link in the chat with instructions how to make this happen if you are a current GiveSmart user or a future GiveSmart user. But I guess, you touched on it a lot, but I guess do you want to tell us a little bit more about kind of like the logistics of it, why you chose to put it kind of front and center, which I think you touched on, and kind of anything else that was really special about your raffle?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is Richard. Thanks, Kathy, and we want to thank GiveSmart for a really smooth experience and a great platform to be able to do this type of presentation and these offerings. We had nobody complain about getting on and getting involved and interfacing with the experience, which we'll continue to talk about. There were a lot of things going on that night. There were actually a lot of things going on the week before and 2 weeks before that, when we were sort of putting that virtual reality page or gallery together. But with the raffle, we felt, and we had done raffles before with lots of our events, as I'd mentioned, and other incentives, but in this case, the raffle was interesting. Some of the pieces had to do with art and some didn't. But what we know about our audience and our newer audience that was coming in is we needed to create packages in the range that went from coveted furnishings to decor and dinners and stays in Chicago and other towns. Tito's Handmade Vodka gave us a really huge giant gift basket filled with goodies. And one of our board members is very close with producers at the Ellen show who gave us a huge, electronics package with a, gosh, you name what kind of electronics you can have in a whole home audio video experience, and it was in there. So that sort of cornucopia of, raffle items was great, because even if somebody didn't want to bid on a piece of art or really wasn't in the market, they were drawn in by some of this great and some of it legendary pieces of furnishing and sculptures and home decor, or experiences. And I think that that's always proven successful for our group of people. And as we found in this event, in the circles that we had sort of expanded into through our involvement with Sergio, and then all the artists that came in and were generous enough to donate for Art for Life Chicago. And that whole pool just, I think, really responded well to that. And we had some people that said they came in for the art, and they not only bid and won art, but they bid and sometimes won raffle prizes. So just again, going back to what I said quite a while back, is that there's something for everybody. And this celebrates that, the raffle, if you look through it.
Absolutely. And I know you have mentioned sponsors and definitely kind of throughout this, I almost said this evening, this afternoon, but you know, I don't know if we touched much on how you guys really incorporated the sponsors into your virtual gallery, and that, you know, you really had some pretty, you definitely talked about how you made things unique, or nope, I did again, made them personalized and made sure that you catered to your specific donors on the sponsor side. But Richard, I am curious about kind of the last point that's listed here, kind of the enablement materials that you provided to your sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, you know, again, it's all about, you know, giving folks opportunities that they are looking for, but sometimes things that they may not know they're looking for and what they would need. And using, you know, technology that we have and social media, we were able to offer this whole list, as you see on the left, of exposure, being part of this virtual gallery and walking up. As that image right in the middle there is a rendering that I created of a glass panel that you may actually see in a gallery or a museum that has sponsors etched into it. And so we did that throughout the gallery. So as you walk through and saw this beautiful artwork, you were also reminded that all of this was brought to you by these people. And again, because of the way we designed it and we brought it in, as Sergio brought it in while he was curating the entire 3D gallery, it fit. So it didn't look like it was a violator or it was emblazoned on a big, huge gallery wall and took up this giant space. It was tastefully done and it was there. And all of the sponsors responded hugely to this, especially since we not only talked about it previous to the event, but when we launched the gallery a couple weeks before, they were already getting that awareness. People were already walking through the gallery. Some of the other items were the drink kits, lots of mentions, as you see that image of Sergio with his co-host Jenny Bias, who's also an artist and a muralist and an entrepreneur in the Chicagoland area. The two of them just knocked it out of the ballpark for us. We couldn't be prouder as a board, and they just represented us very well. And DIFFA Chicago is proud to have them on again in 2021, but they just completely embodied who we are and what we're about and brought the artwork into that. So it was a great show, and sponsors were very happy to be part of it. They were sharing links to the show, to the GiveSmart site that had the auction on the navigation on the left and the, you know, the live show streaming on the right, and just so much going on. But then the ability to allow our viewers and our sponsors to sort of focus in on what parts they love the most. So people were very happy with this. And I gotta say, with all these sponsorship opportunities and missing out on that in-person, you know, shaking hands, drinking a cocktail or a beverage, some nibbles, you know, all that goes with an in-person event. We never had anyone say, yeah, this was okay, but I wish we had this event live. Nobody said that. Everybody felt like it was almost live. And I wonder if that has to do with that we've sort of gotten used to this, right? Here we are again. We're not in a room talking to all of the audience, talking with all the audience. We're over the, you know, bandwidth.
Absolutely. And I think you kind of transitioned us really nicely to the idea of, you know, doing a streamed event, or, you know, making it feel live. And so we definitely would be remiss to not highlight how you streamed your event. And I know that this is something that many nonprofit organizations are kind of working out how they'll do. And for all of you who are GiveSmart users, partners, you do have this presentation feature, and that's what DIFFA Chicago used. And that meant that viewers could access it through a button on the GiveSmart site, and it would take them to what the screenshot that you're seeing here. And I love that when you started your event, you were speaking like you were in the box. And we kind of have that behind the scenes picture of you. So you would sort of gesture or do this or do that. And not everything you were gesturing to was there, which, you know, Sergio with the yellow glasses, the best. But instructing people on how to view items, how to donate, how to look at sponsors and play along on the side. You know, could you tell us a little bit more about any lessons that you learned from streaming the live event on the GiveSmart platform?
Yeah, maybe I'll start on this one. Definitely, you know, as we started to talk about the event itself, you know, here now it's going to be live, it's going to be pre-recorded, it's going to be mixed. You know, we felt like really there's something about being live the moment that you click that live button, just like we're doing right here, right now, right? This is not a pre-recorded thing, we're live. There's something about it that, you know, also brings your adrenaline as a host to another level, as if I know it is being recorded. And we really wanted to capture that moment so that the people on the other side watching this from their homes, and which they were at this point all around the world, because artists who were also at another part of the world, they're also sharing the live event. So we really wanted to give that feel like this is now, this is where we are, this is happening right now. And you know, by making it all within, you know, as you mentioned, within the box, you know, for us as the hosts, Jenny and I being able to point like, hey, if you look in that side, you know, that's where you can you know, bid and you can see what's happening and or interact with us. So that all that added to the component of the moment. And also, you know, when you are doing something, myself as a host on the moment, sometimes you think of a joke that just happens right there because something that's happening, and those things, they get lost when you try to pre-record it, when you try to do it in a different way. So we were able to capture on that, and I think that was really key. And everyone in the team, you know, helping us to walk through each segment as we crafted the whole night event was special. We only had a couple of things that were pre-recorded because of guests that we couldn't have in person, but even those, making those feel like they were all part of the event, I think was key as well. And Richard, maybe you have some other pointers that you want to share.
Yeah, and you know, speaking for my co-chair Kim Winsler and myself, we kicked off the show by introducing Sergio and Jenny, and you know, now looking back on it, we couldn't be any happier. I mean, there was blow by blow. I felt like they were sort of anchors to our news show. They were telling everybody what's happening in Chicago at the time as far as HIV/AIDS. They were updating folks on what DIFFA Chicago was doing in the moment, and at the same time updating everybody on how the auction was going. Now, you could look yourself, but it's always fun to have somebody tell you how things are going. And so it was really, it was just a compelling show. I was sort of on the outside of the room that you see there on the right, and coming in and out as we got updates. And when I was outside of the room, I was checking my laptop, and I was part of a Zoom or GoTo web live watch party. And so we had all these board members that were having watch parties, and or whether they're by themselves, and we were all talking about how things were going. And at the end of it, once we wrapped up everything, and some people are still watching the event, it was about an hour long as it was recorded, and the replies that we got and responses that we got and feedback from our sponsors, from the artists themselves that had donated, from other people that had donated, all of our board members and all the committee was, can it go for an hour and a half next time? Because that was fun and it went by too quick. And it does. When you're having fun, it goes by. So they, you know, Sergio and Jenny made it engaging, and we all had a great time, and it just flew by. So we're going to expand it. There's a lot of new treats that are going to come up for this next year. We've learned a lot, but we're pushing forward.
I love that, and I love that people asked if it could be longer. With all the screen fatigue, I mean, that means you both, certainly Richard and Sergio, did something right. So one point I do want to make is that you can see kind of on the bottom of the screen that there is a chat box. Now, while this is not a feature that GiveSmart offers at the moment, it is possible. So Art for Life was streamed through Vimeo, which means that they embedded it's all very technical, so I'll try to speed through it a little bit, but that basically through GiveSmart, you're able to take the code from Vimeo and put it on your presentation page. Well, that same code can be taken from the chat box that Vimeo offers and also put on your presentation page. So that's what DIFFA Chicago did. So I know a lot of people who work with us are looking for a chat feature, and that is absolutely an option that you have using Vimeo and GiveSmart together. And before we kind of wrap up, because we're pretty much coming up on time, we're going to scoot on over to your donation page, maybe.
And in a second, we had somebody ask about it, so I'll just clarify with the kind of the nice thing is exactly what we see. This is just a screenshot of what an actual donor would see. So being able to kind of watch Sergio in this live screen, but be doing that from the same interface that you would bid or donate. Is kind of the main benefit of this presentation's offering. And I know, Richard, as you mentioned, trying to find some new ways. This wasn't in place until just a few weeks ago in our system, but because more people are absorbing the content in this way, we actually just have some features where as people bid, if they're the leading bidder, there's some effects similar. I have an iPhone, so I know in that so you can add some effects as people are bidding. So I think, you know, in addition to groups such as DIFFA Chicago being able to have some best practices, I think it's also cool to see the technology evolve with it. And Kathy, we'll toss back over here on the donation.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. And then on our last slide, like I said, we're going to wrap it up because then we might have a question or two. We're going to really want to talk about how your community showed up. Not only did they share that time with you, they wanted more time with you, but it was for the fundraising after all. Now, you guys didn't do a big paddle raise, but Sergio, what did you do to kind of encourage donations, kind of a one-time donation during the event and maybe even recurring donations, you know, kind of all year round?
Well, I think for just like anything, repetition was super important. Make sure that every so often we will repeat it while we are here. It's not just having a good time. And I think that, you know, drilling that point over and over. Also, as you can see here in the pictures, we will give updates on the fly of how the auction was going. I was also myself bidding on a piece, so sometimes I would be also checking on mine, and so that also made also a point that, you know, we are all on this together, and just repeated, you know, benchmarks like, hey, we have reached to 10,000 or 20,000, and at the end, for example, I I pledged that if we had made 50,000 right there at that moment, I would paint my hair or dye my hair yellow. We didn't get to that point during the live. So, but that's why Richard said maybe for the next one I'll make it myself yellow. But, you know, giving things like that to just continue encouraging people to, you know, to move the needle higher.
Absolutely, and I think that there's a lot of lessons here about updating throughout the night, definitely having it be interactive with the chat, obviously interactive with a walkthrough, or, you know, for any of you who are listening, we hope that you certainly, you know, took something away from what you've gained today, even if you don't have a fabulous art auction on the horizon. And I know we do have a few webinars coming up that Patrick wants to talk about, and we might have a handful of questions.
We do. So with that, we'll give Richard, Sergio, and Kathy a second breathe. So our webinar coming up next week on the 24th is going to focus on standing out in the crowd, ways your organization or campaign can help separate yourselves from upcoming, you know, from the others out there. And I think today is the appetizer to that topic, and I think we'll build upon some of the things that we have. And then before we get to the questions, another reminder, we'll put the chat link back in, but we want to make sure for listening today, we want to show our appreciation. And again, the offer is for 1 month for free with GiveSmart on a new agreement. So we'll put that in there. And as we get to the questions, the first one, it's kind of both, a lot of them we've asked during the call, and please continue to send them in, is kind of talking about the raffle. So Richard or Sergio, whichever one of you feels better, on the, I know as we talked about the art, you guys kind of connected the winning bidder to the artist, but on the raffle side of things, how did you guys go about the kind of the item distribution of the folks who had won the raffles and getting them connected with the actual prize that they had won?
Yeah, that's always a challenge, right? Whether it's whether it's virtual or in person, if you win something, typically in person, you'll sort of hands, if it's a silent auction or a raffle, before somebody leaves, they'll take that gift with them, unless it's a car, and I think then it gets delivered. But which there weren't very many cars raffled, but we've done that before. But I think that in this case, again, as with the artwork, we weren't asking the donors who had given us a raffle package or items to send us those items. And that was the beauty of it, is they held on to it until somebody won it. And everybody was just so gracious. Everybody that gave us a piece or several pieces or a package and in the raffle, were willing to ship that to the winner. And so I think it saved in a lot of ways. I mean, we didn't have to have it sent to Karen, who's our fantastic administrator at the DIFFA Chicago office, and Karen coordinates everything for us. And she would have had to bring all these items in and store them, display them in a live event, hand them out, make sure everyone got them the day of. A lot of times people leave. And we all know this. I think everybody in the audience knows that you don't end up being able to get to people right away, even though they won the raffle and they've paid their money. We're trying to get them their package. In this case, it went straight shipping to the people themselves, or a certificate was sent to them via mail. It was just nice. It worked that way. Virtual does have its silver linings.
No, that is awesome to hear, and I think definitely a good example of some of the other things we talked about in that regard. And Kathy, so the next question kind of about raffles, which is in the platform, there's two different ways of doing it, and kind of what Richard and Sergio and their team did is put it kind of on the order form. So, and Richard touched on this, is a person could buy the ticket, enter a donation if they want, or kind of purchase their raffles all in that pathway. So in terms of best practices, is that kind of, you've done this from both sides, both as a fundraiser and kind of on this side. So I'm curious, if that kind of is your recommendation for folks as they consider how to do some of this in their own virtual campaigns.
We would recommend that you mimic what DIFFA Chicago did, because it just makes it easier on the donor experience. The goal of any fundraiser is to make it easy for donors to give money. So if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. So that is definitely the recommendation. And I know we have maybe shared some instructions in the chat, and if not, we'll share them with the recording after.
Perfect. No, that is appreciated. And I know we are, that was the fastest hour I've had in quite some time. And a quick note, at the end of this call, you're going to see a survey. If you could please take a moment to give us your feedback, as it is your feedback that really drives the content that we're putting together at the moment, because if it's not helpful for you, it's not helpful at all. So please take a minute to fill that out. And Richard and Sergio, again, thanks so much for the two of you for joining us and sharing your story and giving some people out there some ideas on how they can take what you guys did and implement in their own way within their organizations.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Kathy. And thanks to GiveSmart.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for having me. Great day.
Absolutely. And Kathy, as always, thanks for joining with your insights and wisdom here. And last but not least, thanks to all of you for listening. I speak for everyone at the team when I say we're in your corner and know you too can emulate the success of DIFFA Chicago. So please don't hesitate to reach out if we can help you in any way. And with that, we hope you have a great rest of the day.